Friends, it's Drew. I am down to 1 HP. Welcome to a very special video. This is going to be a YouTube exclusive video, so I'm not streaming this. This is specifically for the YouTube channel. But what I thought I was going to do is do a ranking, as you know, since you clicked on this video, of the Soulsborne games and a couple of Souls-likes. I decided to do this when I finished the Dark Souls series. I just recently finished Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and I thought I kind of gave my thoughts while I was playing that series of kind of what I thought of a couple of different games, but I figured, why not throw it on YouTube? See what other people think, so that they can check it out as well. So, again, this is only games that I've played. I have not played every Souls-like out there. I have only played pretty much the FromSoft games from Demon Souls through Elden Ring, and I have not played Night Rain. And I've been meaning to check that out at some point, but this is just going to be a ranking of the games that I've played, and this is my personal thoughts. This is not something that you should be offended by if you completely disagree. If you do disagree, give me, send something down in the comments. Tell me what your ranking is. Tell me what your favorites are. Do you agree with some of the things I'm saying? Do you disagree with some of the things I'm saying? Definitely let me know. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So there are some of these games that I've only played, like the Remaster and things like that, and so that's actually a pretty good way to start. Is we're gonna start with Demon's Souls. So Demon's Souls, I've only played the PS5 remaster, so that is something to keep in mind. I've only played the PS5 remaster, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there definitely were some things that could have been done better, but overall, I think I enjoyed it. And I played Demon's Souls when I had already played a couple of the other oones, so I think now that I've played the full series, I feel pretty confident throwing Demon's Souls as a, I would say like an A-, B+, so we're going to throw it in as an A. I really like how you can kind of choose your own path, how each section is, even within each world that you can go to, it's still kind of in sections itself, so I do really like that. So I'm going to put that as an A for now. So that brings us to Dark Souls Remastered. So I didn't play the original version, so I only played the remastered version, but Dark Souls is, you can really see that it is an absolute classic. I thoroughly enjoyed playing through the first Dark Souls. It feels like something that a lot of gamers, just if you're fans of video games in general, should do. But I did play it through the lens of already playing a few of the other games. So with that, but I think just with the cultural relevance and stuff, I'm going to put that before Demon's Souls and put that as a solid A as well. Now, onward to Dark Souls 2. I played Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. Unfortunately, I did not make it to any of the DLC, but as you can see in my Dark Souls 2 videos during my playthrough, there was a lot of nonsense. I can see how a lot of people, since Miyazaki was off making Bloodborne and he couldn't do Dark Souls 2, I feel like they learned a lot of lessons, but the wrong lessons from Dark Souls 1. So Dark Souls 2 had a lot more mobs. It had a lot more just generally frustrating areas rather than feeling like you got through it because you conquered something. I feel like there was a lot of sections in Dark Souls 2 where I just felt like I needed to get through it. So unfortunately with Dark Souls 2, I gotta put it at C tier. It's still worth playing, absolutely, but I don't really feel the need to play it again, unfortunately, unless it's for some kind of challenge run or something. So next up is Bloodborne. Bloodborne, I feel like before I even start talking about it, it's S+ for me. It is, I think, one of the greatest games, if not the greatest video game ever made. Bloodborne was the first Soulsborne game that I ever played. It was the first one that I beat. So I pretty much viewed all of the other games through the lens of Bloodborne. So I know that might skew my views on a couple of these games, but I think from the music, from the combat, the story, the replayability, I think just absolutely everything about Bloodborne is amazing. So I'm putting that as S+, as my absolute top tier game. So moving forward, we do have Dark Souls 3. So Dark Souls 3 that's a tough one for me, because Dark Souls 3 felt like it was more of a Dark Souls 1 sequel, so it really was kind of, it was a jump in generation. So the graphics were a lot better, it was a lot faster, it was a lot smoother, but it had some really fun boss fights, but I felt like it was kind of relying on nostalgia a lot as well. So I think, and some of these might change as we're going through, but I think Dark Souls 3, I'm gonna put, again, that's like a B plus A. I think I'm gonna put it here, because I think Dark Souls and Demon Souls I did enjoy better than Dark Souls 3, but I think it's still A tier. I think it's still a really fun game. I think it's definitely worth playing if you're into Souls-likes, but I think it definitely had some room for improvement there as well. So next is Sekiro. So Sekiro is a little bit different in the formula, in that you can upgrade your weapon a little bit, but you have one weapon throughout the entire game. You can get different move sets and things like that, but I think it felt like a FromSoft game in the fact that a lot of the levels were kind of interconnected. It was focused a lot more on movement than the kind of weighty combat, and the combat itself was much more kind of like a rhythm game rather than that kind of slow, deliberate Souls combat. So I think Sekiro, though, I'm putting that at S tier, because again, that was a game that right when I beat it, I went, I am beating this game again right now. And I played like 2 more times. Sekiro, again, from the story, the music, just the general atmosphere of that game, I'm putting that at S tier. That is one of my favorites for sure. Next is Elden Ring. Elden Ring does not need a lot of introduction here. I'm putting Elden Ring in S tier. I'm putting that actually a little bit before Sekiro, because, or Sekiro, as it were. Elden Ring, I think, is one of the, I think Elden Ring might be a perfect entry-level Soulsborne game. And the reason I think that is it is simultaneously the easiest and the hardest game in the series. And what I mean by that is, if you are an entry-level player, it's very open, so you can go completely at your own pace. You are not really forced down one path. So you can go and you can level up. You can explore a lot of the worlds before it does force you into a path. I think, but it's also the hardest in that some of those late game bosses, especially in the DLC, are, I don't care how well you're spec'd, they are tough, and you have to learn the boss. That is one of my favorite things about Soulsborne games, is that you have to, I'm a melee player, so I generally play with no magic, no shields. I just try to dodge and get some hits in when I can. So that's why it can be the hardest. But also, if you want to do a distance build, if you want to do a magic build, if you want to summon creatures, if you want to do all of this stuff, all of that stuff is available for you in Elden Ring as well. So I think Elden Ring is pretty close to that kind of fantasy masterpiece that they're going for. Apparently Miyazaki said that he is still trying to make his his masterpiece for Elden Ring, but or for, you know, for his career. But I think Elden Ring is pretty dang close to that. I mean, it's one of the only games that got a spin-off in Night Rain. So I think that says a lot as well. So those are, when it comes to games made by FromSoft, those are my rankings. But I have 2 more games that I want to talk about in terms of games that I've played. There's a lot of games down there at the bottom, but this was just a random tier list that I found. So the first is Thymesia. And Thymesia, I'm going to put it B tier. Because Thymesia, if you haven't played it, it's a relatively short game. I think it's the studio's first game, but it has a very interesting combat system. There are kind of 2 different types of damage that you can do. You can kind of chip away at their health bar, but that part can go back, kind of like the regain system in Bloodborne. But then if you hit them with a different attack, then you can take that damage away and keep chipping away. So it definitely involves a lot more strategy that way. I think it's a really good first attempt at a game, and I really hope that they make another, either a sequel or a spiritual successor to Thymesia, because I think that they have some really good things going on there. They have some really good boss encounters. I really like the world, but when it comes to stacking it against things like Dark Souls or, you know, Demon Souls, things like that, I think it's a solid B. I think it's a solid B. Definitely worth playing. If you have played it and you think it, you know, it is worth kind of higher up on the list, definitely let me know. But I personally, when I finished it, I was like, I really enjoyed that. Solid B effort. And the next is Lies of P. For me, Lies of P, that's going up to S. I'm actually gonna put it, for me personally, it's kind of between S and S plus. You know what? I'm gonna put it right there between Elden Ring and Sekiro. I think Lies of P, a lot of people have talked about how there are certain things that are just kind of not perfectly dialed in, but I think, again, this is this studio's first ever Souls-like, and I think the weapon system, where you can combine a handle, which is the moveset, with a blade, which is a different, you know, length or has different abilities, and you can mix and match those to really customize how you play the game, is actually made me feel a little bit like Bloodborne with the you know, interchangeable weapons, or transformable weapons. But for me, Lies of P is like a 10 out of 10 for me personally. But I think when you're looking at it, the problem with this list is that there are a lot of 10 out of 10 games on this list. So I would put it between Elden Ring and Sekiro, but I think that the parry system that leans into kind of what I was saying about Elden Ring and Bloodborne, and that you really need to learn the movesets of the enemies and of the bosses. And I just, from the base game to the DLC, had so much fun with Lies of P. But I think that's my list. You know, this is, again, these are just the games that I've played. I've played a couple of other Souls-likes, like I see Jedi Survivor down there. I'm not gonna really count those in here because I think they're kind of Souls-likes, but I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it to this because, again, we could go all day if we just do every Souls-like that I've played. I wanted to keep it to this, to keep it mainly to FromSoft games, plus a couple of extras, just in case there are games that you want to check out there. But I think this is a pretty good list. But again, these are completely subjective. Even while I was playing games like Dark Souls 2, which was my least favorite, it has some charm. It has some really cool boss designs. But just for me, this is my general list. So that's what we got. So again, let me know what you think. What did you think of my list? Are there things that you would have changed? Tell me your list down in the comments. Give me a like if you like this video, dislike it if you did not. But I will be back with some more streams. Check me out on Twitch. I do stream kind of pretty much all the first playthroughs that I do, unless specifically noted that I don't. Obviously, give me a like and comment down below if you liked this video. Follow me on all the socials. But as I always say during my streams and during my videos, the world is a better place with you in it. Make sure you do love yourself, love those around you, and I will see you next time.